Welcome back to African Perspective. Now, the international community reacted to the postponement of Nigeria's poll. Our correspondent there, Sherwin Bryce-Pease, has more on this. So, what was the reaction of the diplomatic corps at the UN there, Sherwin?
Well, Tepisa, I'd like to start with the reaction from UN officials, and it's safe to say that high officials here at the United Nations at UN headquarters have deferred their statements on Nigeria's election even before the postponement to the Secretary General Special Envoy in the region, Mohammed Ibn Chambas. Mohammed Ibn Chambas, of course, aligning himself with the statement that came from international observer missions in the country, essentially noting the decision by the Electoral Commission to postpone the elections and sort of reiterating language we've heard over the course of this election period, calling for calm, urging that there be no violence on the streets and really to wait for the actual process to unfold. I asked the Secretary General spokesperson, Stefan Dujarric, if Antonio Guterres himself had reached out to the leading candidates in the poll, and he again referred us back to Mohammed Ibn Chambas, saying Chambas is the special representative of the Secretary Generals in the region, and so he has spoken to all the candidates in that poll. We also spoke to a P5 member, the UK ambassador, Karen Pierce, of course, permanent member of the Security Council, asking if there is any concern that this might become an issue for the Council given the sudden postponement. Her view was that it was not being discussed in Council at the moment, and that as a rule, the United Kingdom would certainly look to see supportive, representative government and democratic elections. The most pointed statement we've seen from this part of the world, Tepisa, and I'm going to read it to you, comes from a representative in the United States Congress. He is the former chair of the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Africa, Representative Chris Smith. He writes that responsibility for the delay of Nigeria's presidential election lays squarely with President Muhammadu Buhari and those close to him. Actions in advance of the election, including the removal of Supreme Court Chief Justice Walter Onnoghen and arson attacks on independent National Electoral Commission officers in opposition strongholds, are undermining confidence that this election and subsequent gubernatorial elections will be free and fair. At a minimum, says Chris Smith, the presidential election must meet the 2015 standard, which saw a peaceful transfer of power and a statement by the then sitting president that all bloodshed must be avoided. So that was a very pointed statement from this former chair of the Subcommittee on Africa in a hearing which he convened in December last year. He had one of the briefers there, the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Tibor Naj. Let's listen to what he had to say. This is around December 13th.
We're going to see if we can get that back up on the wall for you. Just very quickly, have they expressed whether or not they believe the process will be free or fair?
We believe the infrastructure is fine. It's the human actors. If there's going to be any problems, it's going to come from that side. I mean, I have followed Nigerian elections since 1993. There are always some angles which are out of what we would consider the norm. The 2015 ones were considerably better than previous ones. Everybody is saying that at a minimum they would expect this round of elections to meet the standard set by 2015. Mm-hmm. One of the considerations we need to think about is that in 2015 it was not as competitive as it is this year. Because in 2015 there was the belief that there was such a negative reaction to President Jonathan that now President Buhari would win. This time when I was there and I talked to a large number of people, there's absolutely no certainty.
No certainty, Tepisa, but certainly a sense from the top official in the State Department for Africa that this is going to be a close election, and any observer watching this will understand that if it's close in Nigeria, that could mean problems down the line.
So